Do you have any advice on how to submit my job search application materials, perhaps my resume, in order to avoid age discrimination?
I think it's a lot of the standard advice, which is good advice, which is you don't have to put your year of graduation from college or high school. You don't have to put some of the jobs that you had early in your career. You don't have to say that you waited tables in the 1980s, right? You can kind of consolidate. And you can't lie, but you can leave out some of those earlier opportunities so that you're not automatically screened. You know, if I had a job in the 1970s, I'm not so sure that that would be something I would highlight on my resume. Now, if you fill out a job application and you have to put it, but you remember your resume and your LinkedIn profile are marketing documents, right?
Yes.
They're marketing materials. And so consolidating earlier jobs, not putting years of graduation, I think having a picture where you look energetic and, certainly if your hair is gray, that is what it is. And I have no problem with that. But make sure that you look modern, right? And that you're not using a photograph from 30 years ago that looks like it was, taken at Sears, that's gone out of business.
Yeah. It's not about what age you are, because there really is no excuse. We just had a podcast guest come on, I don't know, maybe like a year ago, who was talking about how it's never too late to learn a new skill, no matter what age you are. And I thought that was just brilliantly put, because a lot of us, we limit our potential when we say, okay, it's too late for me to learn the newest round of software for my industry, or it's too late for this kind of thing. But they brought that into perspective to show how you could remain active within your job search, to show relevance, and in a way it would avoid age discrimination. So I think that was just brilliant advice, and you reminded me of that.
Okay.
So the other thing I wanted to speak to was LinkedIn. You mentioned having a fresh picture. Do you have any other advice when it comes to freshening up my brand to make sure that I'm ready to go?
I do. A couple of thoughts. You mentioned in my bio, I was a spokesperson for LinkedIn for many years in the early days. And a couple of things. Number one is I think your LinkedIn headline is extraordinarily important, particularly as a job seeker. If you're transitioning out of mechanical engineering and you want to go into management consulting, don't put that you're a mechanical engineer. Put that you're a management consultant with a mechanical engineering background, right? Lead with what you want. I'm a big fan of having a very long LinkedIn headline, because I think a lot of people never scroll down. So if there's something that you want people to know about you, put it directly in that headline, right? That's your most important piece of real estate. When it comes to the photo, I think you should wear or look like what you would wear to a job interview in your field. So if that's a business-oriented career, you should be wearing a suit or something very professional. If that's something creative, you can dress creatively. I knew a guy who was going for jobs in the sports industry. He wanted to work in sports marketing. So he had a photo of himself in a suit in a football stadium, right? I thought that was really smart. So
Cool.
Make sure that everything about your profile looks the part of what you want. And to your point about taking classes, if you say that you want a job at a startup, you need to have the word startup on your LinkedIn profile in a bunch of places.
Yes.
So maybe you take a LinkedIn learning class on managing startups. Maybe you volunteer for a startup company. Maybe you join some LinkedIn groups related to startups. It has to tell a story that confirms that you're interested in the things that you say you're interested in. And the final thought comes directly from Reid Hoffman, who was one of the founders. He said he thinks people use LinkedIn wrong. He said most people go into LinkedIn and they say, what can I get today? And he said the way he uses it is he says, what can I give? Who can I help? And even as a job seeker, if you are forwarding jobs that don't interest you but might help a friend, if you are liking people's posts, if you're responding to questions, if you are answering comments, if you are learning stuff, that's all giving to the people in your network. And that has just as much value as sort of going in and saying, who's going to give me a job today? And I think that philosophy change is really helpful for job seekers who might be frustrated. Who can you help today?